Okay. So in last two lectures, we discussed about different memory management techniques, where we mainly discuss this fixed partitioning scheme, dynamic partitioning scheme, and then we also discuss paging and segmentation. So paging and segmentation, we discussed the general idea, but then this paging and segmentation, they are not used directly. Basically, they are used mostly with virtual memory. So let us start with this idea of virtual memory. So there are a few definitions. Let's go through these definitions first. What is virtual memory? It's a yeah. Any query? Is there any query? Fine. So what is virtual memory? So it's a storage allocation scheme in which secondary memory can be addressed as though it were part of main memory. So the part of secondary memory, it is considered as part of main memory. That is called virtual memory. And there is another term called real memory. That is nothing but the main memory. The addresses a program may use to reference memory are distinguished from the addresses the memory system uses to identify physical storage sites. And program generated addresses are translated automatically to the corresponding machine addresses. So we are not going in detail of that right now. Once we will discuss further, you will get the complete idea. So in short, what is virtual memory? It is just the extension of your main memory on the secondary memory. So some part of your secondary memory can be considered like it is the extension of your main memory. And that is known as virtual memory. Then there is virtual address. So the address assigned to location in virtual memory to allow that location to be accessed as though it were part of main memory. So whatever addresses you have in your virtual memory, that is called virtual address. And the virtual address space means all the virtual storages which is assigned to a process, that is called virtual address space. And we know address space, basically it is a range of memory addresses available to a processes. So whatever memory addresses are assigned to any particular process, that whole range is considered as address space. And finally, you have real address, that is nothing but the address of a storage location in main memory. So these are few terminology. Now, if we talk about few key points in memory management that we discussed in last chapter, especially with this paging and segmentation, what happened? What are the flexibility that you can have with that paging and segmentation idea? We have seen that in paging and segmentation, we have logical addresses which need to be converted into physical addresses at runtime. And why we need to do so and what it allows. So a process which can be swapped in or out of main memory may be occupying different regions at different times during the execution. And because of that, you cannot fix the location in the main memory for those part of the processes. And that's why rather than giving the fixed locations, all these processes are having logical addresses which are fixed. Logical addresses are fixed. Like for example, if there is one process, it is always having addresses from, let's say, 0 to 2000, something like that. But ultimately, that is a logical address, and that is going to be converted into physical address. And we have seen that with this paging and segmentation, another flexibility that you can achieve, it means a process may be broken up into pieces that do not need to locate it contiguously in main memory. That is also one flexibility that you achieve. So with this paging and segmentation, what is possible? So with this paging and segmentation, one thing which is possible is now you can put your process in any part of main memory at any time. If it was there in yeah, someone is trying to speak. Any question? So if you are trying to if you are putting your process in main memory at particular locations, in future you may be swept out that process, and when you bring it again, now it can be put in another part of the main memory. That is possible because of this paging and segmentation idea. And Another thing which is possible is now you can break your whole process space in small chunks. And again, they need not to be contiguously given the allocation. So that is there. So these are two flexibility that you can achieve because of this paging idea and segmentation idea. So if both of these two characteristics are present, so what is the what is the final advantage if you have these two characteristics? So in that case, it is not necessary that all of the pages or all of the segments of a process be in main memory during execution. And that is the biggest thing. Now, as the whole process has logical addresses, which are going to be converted into physical address, and the whole process can be broken into pieces because of these two characteristics. What is the advantage of that? Now it is not necessary that all of the pages or all of the segments of your process need to be in main memory during execution. It means whenever you are executing your process, only part of your process you can keep it in the main memory, remaining part you can keep somewhere else, mostly in the secondary memory. And whenever that part is required, you bring that part into main memory. Only thing is, if the next instruction and the next data location that you are going to refer, if they are in the main memory, then execution can proceed without any problem, at least for that time. So because of this paging and segmentation idea, what you get is this advantage. So now, if we talk about execution of a process under this circumstance, under these conditions, so in this case, OS brings into main memory only one or a few pieces of the process rather than putting the whole process in the main memory. OS simply put one or a few pieces of that process, and that includes initial program. Of course, program is required because without program you cannot do anything. So program is brought into the main memory and few data pieces, initial data pieces. Now there is a term which is called resident set. So what is this resident set? Because now we know that not the whole process is there in the main memory, only part of that process is in the main memory. So portion of the process that is actually in the main memory at any given time, that portion forms resident set of that process. So whichever portion of the process is in the main memory, at that moment, that portion, it forms one set, and that set is resident set. And why it is set? Because process now is divided into chunks, maybe pages or segments. So whichever pages or segments are there in the main memory, that creates one set, and that is called resident set, which is the resident main memory. So now what happens as process gets executing? So as the process executes, it runs smoothly as long as all memory references are within resident set. So whichever instruction or data you are trying to you are trying to refer in your program while your process is getting executed, if those instructions and data references are there in your resident set, it means in the main memory, then your process will run smoothly without any problem. And for that, of course, as we are using here some idea of paging or segmentation, you may require segment or page table, which is used to translate your logical addresses to the physical addresses. Now, if CPU encounters a logical address, now what happens if CPU encounters a logical address that is not present in main memory? By chance, now if your process is running and it is trying to achieve some, let's say there is some if else condition, and it is trying to execute some instruction which is not right now there in main memory, and it is lying in the secondary memory. So in that case, interrupt will be generated, and the current process, your process which is running, it is put into the blocking state, and OS gains the control. Now the piece of the process that contains the logical address which has generated this interrupt, that piece of your process is brought into the main memory. And how it is done? So these are the sub steps for that. How it is brought into the main memory. So OS issues a disk IO read request. Another process is dispatched to run while the disk IO takes place. So while your process it is doing this disk IO, and at that time it is, of course, it is blocked. And as your process is blocked, another process will run. An interrupt is issued when the IO completes. So whenever this disk IO is completed, one interrupt is issued, and it causes the OS to place the affected process, mainly your process, in the ready state. So now, whatever piece of your process you wanted to read from the disk, from the secondary memory, as that disk IO gets completed, it will generate some interrupt, and that interrupt will put your process back into the ready state. So this is how, what happens now, whenever your process is executing, it is not required to keep the whole process in main memory. And that is the bottom line of this few slides that we have already discussed today. And whenever the thing that you are trying to refer, if your process is trying to refer some instruction or data area which is not there in the main memory, in the resident set, then this process will be performed. Your process will be blocked, OS will perform some disk IO, and finally that portion of your process will be brought into the main memory. Though it looks simple here, but it is not that simple. Internally, it is a very complicated process. Now, there are few points that we need to understand if this kind of strategy is adopted. Okay, so there is one advantage when you have this strategy where you just keep only the portion of your process in the main memory and remaining part you keep in the virtual memory, in the secondary memory. So more processes may be maintained in main memory. Because of this, as you are not putting the whole process in the main memory, only portion of the main memory, only portion of the process in the main memory, definitely you have more spaces for more processes. So more processes may be maintained in main memory, because only loading some of the pieces of each process. With so many processes in main memory, it is very likely a process will be in the ready state at any particular time. So it is very likely that at least one process is there in ready state if you have those many processes. Another thing is, a process may be larger than all of main memory. Suppose you have main memory of 2 GB, and currently we have so many softwares. When we run that software, only that software requires more than 3 GB or 4 GB or something like that. So if this idea is not used, that only portion of your process may be loaded in the main memory, if that idea is not used, you can never run that software in your system with only 2 GB memory. So that advantage is also there. So these are few implications of this strategy. More processes can be maintained now, and even if your process is larger than the actual physical memory, still it is possible to use that program, that software in your low memory system. Are you getting this? The idea? What is the virtual memory idea? You can ask question if you have. Fine. So I assume that you are getting it. So now, what is real memory and what is virtual memory? So real memory is nothing but the main memory is called real memory. That is your RAM. And whenever you need to execute anything, any part of your process, it must be there in RAM. Then only it can be executed. Otherwise, it cannot be executed. And what is virtual memory? It is memory on disk. So some portion of your memory which you have, reserved on the secondary memory, that is called virtual memory. And it allows for effective multi-programming. We have seen that, how it helps. Because of virtual space, virtual memory, now it is possible to keep only portion of the main process in main memory and other portion in the secondary memory, which is virtual memory. And it relieves the user of tight constraint of main memory. We have seen those two things here, right? You need not to have, let's say your software actually requires 8 GB of memory, but still with 4 GB of your actual RAM, you can do that because you have now virtual memory concept in your OS. So there is one concept called locality. So let us understand this locality concept. So consider a very large process with long program and large amount of data. So during a small period of time, a small section of program and some set of data are accessed. So again, what is small section? What is a small period? So this small value here, it is relative. So now we know that okay, for next few microseconds or for few seconds even, only some portion of the whole long process is going to be used. Okay, and other portion of your program of your process is not going to be used for next few seconds, let's say. So in that case, it is wasteful to load the entire process when only some part is going to be used before the process is swapped out. Okay, so in that case, you just load that small part rather than loading the whole process. Okay, and for next few seconds or microseconds or some small period of time, only that portion is going to be referred. So definitely it is wasteful if you load the whole process and you are wasting the main memory, because most of the part of that process is not going to be referred for next few seconds. And after that few seconds, let's say if some branching occurs, if your process is trying to access some memory area which is not some process area which is not loaded in main memory, then we have seen that if that happens, there is some interrupt, and that is called fault. It is called page fault, because those pages of your process which are being referred right now, they are not loaded in the main memory. Then in that case, fault will be triggered. So what is the advantage of such approach? We have already seen that more processes maintained in main memory, and loading a few pieces will save your time rather than loading the whole process. Only required portion, if you load, definitely it is going to save the time. But then there is some problem. So what is the problem? Thrashing is the problem with this approach. Now what is thrashing? So what is the possibility that you may throw out the piece just before it is required? Let's say you are loading different pieces of different processes in your main memory. Okay, now suppose you require some other piece of some process to bring it into the to load into the main memory, and now your main memory is full, so you need to swap out some portion of some other process or your own process. You need to swap out that part and bring new portion of some other process. So basically that is swapping and swap out. Now whichever portion of whichever process you just swapped out, you just put it back into the secondary memory so that you can have free main memory and you can load something else. It is possible that in the very near future, the same portion that you swapped out is required. It is required. So what you need to do? Again, you need to bring that portion back into the main memory. And if this happens very frequently, that whichever portion you swapped out from whichever process, if that is going to be required, that is going to be accessed very near in the very near future, you need to immediately bring it back. So in this case, if you are replacing those portion of those processes which are actually going to be used in a very near future, and if you are doing this frequently, then basically you are wasting some CPU time, because replacement of this pages, it means which page will go out and which page will come in, that also requires CPU time. It requires some resources. So hence, which pages should be replaced is a concern. So what is thrashing? A state in which the system spends most of its time swapping pieces rather than executing actual instructions. Because you need to do this frequently, swap out some portion and bring in some new portion. But the portion that you swapped out, it is going to be used in the very near future, and you need to bring it back again. So if system is wasting its time in this swapping process rather than executing instructions, that situation is called thrashing. Basically, you are wasting the resources. And to avoid this, the operating system tries to guess which pieces are least likely to be used in the near future. So basically, whenever you need to swap out some portion of some process, OS needs to guess that, okay, the portion that I am going to swap out, it should be the portion which should not be required in the near future, so that I am not doing this swapping and swap out continuously. How OS can do this guesswork? How OS can identify, okay, this is the portion which is not going to be used in the near future? Of course, there are few heuristics for that, few strategies for that. But one thing is, this guess is based on recent history. OS keeps this record, which portion has used in recently, which portion has not used recently, something like that. So this guess is used to make this decisions by OS. And there comes the idea of principle of locality. So program and data references within a process tend to cluster. That is the principle of locality. Basically what it is, we have seen that only a few pieces, it is observed through practicals, through research, it is observed that only a few pieces of process will be needed over a short period of time. Therefore, it is possible to make intelligent guesses about which pieces will be needed in the future. And this suggests that virtual memory may work efficiently. Okay, so OS can guess this, that okay, which portions or which pieces will be used in the near future. So it is not going to swap out that. And this is called principle of locality. What is principle of locality? It is observed through experiments, through the research, that whenever any process is getting executed, okay, whatever instructions or data references it is making, it is normally, okay, within some span of that process. Okay, they tend to cluster. It is not like that, okay, let currently the instruction which is executing at let's say at address 2000, very unlikely that after 2000 instruction it will try to execute instruction at 7000 or 9000. What is very likely, normal in sequential programming, what is very likely, that after 2000 maybe it is going to execute instruction at 2001. Or even if there is if else, maybe it is going to execute instruction at 2005, something like that. So in the, in a small span of that, I hope you are getting this idea. Yeah, should I assume that you get it? Okay, so this principle of locality, it is used by OS to understand and to guess that, okay, this piece of the process is not going to be used in near future, so I can swap this out if I require main memory. So that is one thing which is used by OS. Now, what support is needed for virtual memory? So mainly there are two types of support required, one from hardware, one from software, that is OS. So hardware must support paging and segmentation. So now we are going to see paging and segmentation with virtual memory. We have already discussed the idea of paging and segmentation, that is simple paging and simple segmentation without virtual memory. But now after this, we are going to discuss paging and segmentation with virtual memory. And for that, some special hardware are required. Hardware support is required rather. And then there is a support required from operating system. What is the job, or what is the support required from operating system? OS must be able to manage the movement of pages and or segments between secondary memory and main memory. Because whenever required, some of the pages need to be brought in the main memory. It need to be loaded in the main memory or segments, whether pages or segments. And some of the pages and segments may be it need to swept out on the secondary or virtual memory. So this flow, okay, this transfer of pages and segmentation from secondary to primary and primary to secondary memory, that needs to be handled by OS. So let's start with the first part, hardware support. So we are going to discuss first paging for virtual memory. So we know that each process has its own page table. We know that, right? Each process has its own page table. Especially in paging, if you remember, each process is divided into pages, and where this particular page is actually loaded in the main memory, that information is there in the page table. And each page table entry contains the frame number of the corresponding page in main memory. 2 extra bits are needed to indicate whether the page is in main memory or not. Okay, in page table, you have entry for every page of your process, and that entry contains the frame number in which this particular page is loaded. But it is possible that this page might have been swept out. So in that case, it was loaded in that frame, but now it is no more there in that frame maybe. So in that case, you require one flag, one bit, which will tell currently this page is loaded in the main memory or not, and whether the contents of the page has been altered since it was last loaded. So once this page was loaded in the main memory, after that, whether the content of this page is changed, modified or not, that information can also be provided in that page table. That is called modified bit, M bit. And the first one is present bit, that is P bit. So you might have something like this. Your virtual address is just the page number and offset. That is your logical address or virtual address, whatever you call it. And finally, when it gets converted, what is there in your PT page table entry? Present bit, whether this page is actually there in the main memory or not, whether this page is modified since last loaded, some other control bits can be there, and finally frame number, in which frame, if this P is 1, in which frame this page is loaded. Okay, so this is your typical PT page table entry. And what these control bits are for? These control bits can be there, and it can include bits for protection and sharing. We will discuss this protection and sharing later. So now how this address gets translated? Though we have already discussed this idea, address translation in paging, in the last chapter we have discussed, but let us do it again. So page table is usually a large in size. Okay, now why it is large in size? Can anyone tell me why page table normally it is large in size? What it contains basically? Page table contains entry for every page, whether it is present or not, whether it is modified or not, some other control bits and frame number. Because nowadays your processes are very long processes, maybe 2 GB, 4 GB process. When your program is running, especially if you have come across this ID like Android Studio ID or Visual Studio ID and all those IDs, they are very lengthy processes. And they require 2 GB memory, 3 GB memory. You might have heard that. So when you are running this ID, it is going to be converted into a process. And it is, if you are using paging scheme, the whole process will be divided in number of pages. So number of pages are very high. And every page requires one entry in the page table. And that is why the page table size is normally very large. So you cannot keep this page table entries in registers because registers are limited and they have special purposes. So where you keep these page tables, definitely we keep these page tables in main memory. So how this virtual address or logical address gets translated into physical address? So what are the steps for that? So there is a register which holds starting address of page table for running process. So there is one fixed register. Whenever any process is put into the running state, for that process, whatever is the starting address of that process page table, that starting address is loaded into that particular register. Page number field of virtual address is now used as an index to find frame number from the process page table, because now you know where is your page table loaded in the main memory. You have starting address. With that starting address, it is something like this. See, this registers holds starting address of your page table, your process page table. And in virtual address, initial part is page number. This page number is used as index. So from this pointer, you just go by this index, and whatever you get is the entry for this page number in this page table. So once you get this entry, you find out the frame number, and that frame number is actual frame number, and this offset will be added in that frame number, and you get the final physical address. And this is already done. We have already seen this in the last chapter. The only difference here is in that chapter, while discussing this address translation, we did not discuss about this. What is the starting address of process table? But now page table is there in the main memory, and we require its starting address, which is stored in this register. Whenever this process is running, this register will be loaded with the starting address of your page table. And then this page will be used as index. You find a PT, that is page table entry, and that will give you the frame number. And normally you can see here, this frame number is of m bits and page number is n bits. Have discussed few examples of this address translation where n and m was same value. But in reality, this n, normally they are higher than the m. This n bits, which represent page number, they are higher than the m bits. Because virtual address space can have more number of pages than the actual number of frames in your whole main memory. That is possible. As I told you, let's say Android Studio requires 2 GB of main memory, but your system may have only 1 GB of main memory. So the virtual address space of your Android Studio is 2 GB, and actual address space, actual memory is only 1 GB. So still you can run, because now you need not to load the whole Android Studio in the memory. Only portion of that will be loaded. So it is possible that the virtual address space can be larger than the actual address space. That is possible. I hope you are getting this. Are you getting this address translation? Very simple thing.
Yes, sir.
Now let us put our focus on this part, large page tables. So a process can occupy huge amount of virtual memory. As I just discussed, let's say you are loading Android Studio, you are starting Android Studio. Maybe it requires 4 GB, suppose. So it's a large process. But that 4 GB is not the actual memory. I mean, you may not have that 4 GB of RAM. But then that Android Studio which requires 4 GB, it is basically virtual. Someone is disturbing here. Please mute your part. Okay. So a process can occupy huge amount of virtual memory. So consider an architecture with 2 GB virtual memory per process. See, 2 GB virtual memory, not actual memory. 2 GB virtual memory per process with page size of 512 bytes. Now page size is 512 bytes. How many pages are required to accommodate this process? Process requires 2 GB of virtual memory and page size is 512 bytes. So how many pages will be used by this process? How many pages are there? 2 GB means 2 raised to how much? 2 GB means 2 raised to 30. How much? 2 raised to 31. 1 GB is 2 raised to 30. So 2 GB is 2 raised to 31. So 2 raised to 31 is it is a virtual memory requirement, and you need to divide this requirement of 2 raised to 31 memory addresses in pages, and each page can contain 512 bytes. So 2 raised to 31 divided by 512. 512 is nothing but 2 raised to 9. So 2 raised to 31 divided by 2 raised to 9. It means you have 2 raised to 22 pages. 2 raised to 22 pages per process. And for every page, there is one entry in your page table. What will be the size of page table? Your page table contains now contains 2 raised to 22 entries. Okay. So hence page tables are also stored in virtual memory. Now, let us say each page table entry requires even only 4 byte. Let's say only 4 byte. What will be the size of page table? Can anyone tell me? What will be the size of page table if every entry requires only 4 bytes? Is it that difficult to calculate? How many entries you have in your page table? 2 raised to 22. And every entry requires 4 bytes. So what is the size of your page table? Guys, are you there? 24, yes. So 2 raised to 24 bytes. And how much it is? 2 raised to 24 bytes. How much it is? 16 megabytes. So basically, for every process,
Hello.
who is this?
Oh.
Fine. So your page table itself is a very large, it requires very large amount of memory. So you cannot keep this page table in main memory itself, because every process has very large page table and it is going to occupy your main memory. So if you keep it in main memory, it is going to occupy a big chunk of your main memory, and then you won't get main memory for actual process. So what is the solution? Where a process is, hence page tables can also be put into the virtual memory. So the whole page table you can keep in the virtual memory, not whole page table, definitely part of them that will be loaded in the main memory at moment. So when a process is running, part of its page table is in main memory and remaining part of your page table is in virtual memory. So till now we were discussing that actual process, part of the actual process will be in the virtual memory. But we have seen that even page tables are getting very bigger. So in that case, most of the part of the page table will also be put into the virtual memory. Only required part will be brought into the main memory. So what is the solution to this? And if you have such idea that even page table is there in the virtual memory, how you can refer particular, how you get the particular frame of particular page? So there are two level scheme. Now we have two level scheme. So to maintain page tables properly, a page directory kind of structure can be used. So page directory can contain X records. Each record points to a page table. See, page directory can contain X records and each record points to a page table. Length of page directory is X because there are X records. Length of page table is Y. A process now can contain X into Y pages because every record contains Y page tables entries. So let us understand with the help of example what it is trying to say. So consider a 2-level example with 32-bit addresses. If 32-bit is the address size, if address is made up of 32 bits, the address space is 2 raised to 32. How many addresses you can refer? 2 raised to 32. And that is going to be your address space. And 2 raised to 32 is nothing but 4 GB. So you have total 4 GB address space. It is a virtual address space. Okay. Now, page size. Let's say your page is made up of 4 KB. So if process has 4 GB address space, virtual address space, and it is divided into 4 KB size pages, how many pages are there? How many pages are there? 4 GB divided by 4 KB, that is 2 raised to 20. So 2 raised to 20 pages can be there. And for every page, you have one page table entry. That's why number of PT is 2 raised to 20. And each entry requires 4 bytes for storage. So total space needed for your page table is 2 raised to 20 into 4, that is 4 megabyte. 4 megabyte per page table. So for every page table, 4 megabyte memory is required. Okay. And the address can be divided as per following. Now let us try to understand what it says. This is your virtual address space. 4 GB virtual address space. And this virtual address space, see, again, you need to understand, when I say virtual address space, it is not RAM. It is the virtual address space for your process. How much memory it may require at a time. No, at a time, but the whole memory required by that process. So your process virtual address space is 4 gigabyte. Now this 4 GB is divided into pages of size 4 KB. That's why you have totally 2 raised to 20 pages. You have total 2 raised to 20 pages. Okay, you have total 2 raised to 20 pages. And to store these entries of 2 raised to 20 pages, and where every entry is of 4 byte, you require 4 megabyte space. But this 4 megabyte space, again, it is a very large one. So this is also virtual memory. And in physical memory, what you store is, you again divide this 4 megabyte into pages. You divide this 4 megabytes into pages. Okay. And what is the size of this page size? What is the page size? Page size remains same, whether you are dividing your virtual address space into pages or you divide your page table into pages. Page size is going to be remain same. So what is the page size that we have used? We have used page size 4 KB. 4 KB is the page size. So if page table which requires 4 MB, if we divide this page table into pages of 4 KB, how many pages will be there? How many pages are required to store 4 megabyte page table? 4 megabyte is 2 raised to 21. 4 megabyte is 2 raised to 21. And 4 kilobyte is 2 raised to 11. Sorry, 2 raised to 22. 4 megabyte is 2 raised to 22. And 4 kilobyte page size, that is 2 raised to 12. So 2 raised to 22 divided by 2 raised to 12.
2 raised to 10.
So that is 2 raised to 10. So you require 2 raised to 10 pages. How much? 2 raised to 10 pages to store this page table itself. So we are not going to put this page table in main memory because it requires 2 raised to 10 pages. So this 2 raised to 10 pages, again, they are stored in their virtual memory. But then you need to refer this pages, right? This page tables pages. So again, you store one more page. You store one more page. And this page has entries where each entry refers one page of page table. Okay. And now how many entries are required in this? This is 4 kilobyte page, right? There is only one page. There is only one page. Okay. And every entry requires 4 bytes. So your page size is 4 kilobyte. So this is one page of 4 kilobyte. And each entry requires 4 byte. So how many entries can be stored here? 4 kilobyte is the size of the page, and every entry requires 4 byte. So how many entries can be stored here? Is it that difficult? 4 kilobyte divided by 4.
2:10.
2:10 entries. How many pages are used to store page table itself? How many pages are used to store the full page table? 2:10. So basically each page of page table entry is here. So this is two level, or you can say two level hierarchical page table. This is actual page table, which refers to your virtual address space. But this page table is so long that again it is divided in pages. It is a part of virtual memory. And in main memory, you keep only entries of these pages. So now when you need to convert virtual address into physical address, it will be two level conversion. How it will be converted like this? See, your virtual address, which is of 32 bits, it is divided into 10 bits, 10 bits, 12 bits. Okay. This 12 bits is offset. This 10 bits is the second level, and this 10 bits is the first level. So these 10 bits are used as index from the root page table. Here in root page table, these 10 bits are used as index, and it will find out the page of the page table. It will find out the page of the page table. So that will give you the page number. It will give you the page number of this page table. This is actual page table in the virtual memory. So this entry will give you which page of this page table has entry for that virtual address. So basically this will give you the page of the page table. That page you get it here, and add 10 bits again to that, and that will give you the actual entry in the page table, and that will give you frame number, and then you add offset to that, and you will get the physical address. Are you getting this? Are you getting this? Okay, so this is two level address translation when you use two level hierarchical page table. And page table grows proportionally. Okay, now what is this? A drawback of the type of page table just discussed is that their size is proportional to that of the virtual address space. So here we have taken one example of virtual address space of 4 GB. Instead of that, if process virtual address space grows to 8 GB, 16 GB, accordingly the page size will be increasing. Sorry, accordingly page table size will be increasing. So what is the alternative to this problem? Because if your page table size is going to increase, you may need to increase this level also. May not be completed with only 2 levels. You may need to do it with 3 levels or 4 levels if you really want to short it out. But when you have multiple levels, then definitely it is going to take more time to convert logical address into physical address. If you have more levels rather than 2, if you have 3 or 4 levels, of course it will take more time to convert virtual address into physical address. So as your page table size increasing, this problem will be there, right? So how this problem can be solved? Rather than storing frame value for particular page, let us do it reverse. An alternative is inverted page tables. Now what is that? There is one page table entry for every frame in the main memory, because ultimately whatever pages are there, they are there in the frame, and frames are fixed because main memory is fixed. Let's say you have 4 GB main memory, it is fixed. and it is divided into frames. So frame is fixed. So rather than storing frame value for every page of every process, let us do reverse. For every frame, you just store which process page, which page of which process is stored in that frame, reverse part. Hence, number of page table entries in inverted page table are fixed because that is number of frames entries. That is equal to number of frames. So can we do something like this? See now, when you have this virtual address, okay, when you have this virtual address which may contain page number, offset, and there may be some PID. So this is nothing but page table which is based on the frame numbers. So totally there are 0 to 2 raised to m minus 1 frames. Okay, can anyone tell me to refer this many frames? If this many frames are there, how many bits are there in every frame reference? If you refer any frame, how many bits are used to refer any frame? If this is the number of frames, how many bits are used to refer any particular frame? If these are the number of frames, how many frames are there? Frames means actual memories chunks, RAM chunks. So how many frames are there? Can you tell me? 2 raised to m. If 2 raised to m frames are there, how many bits are required to refer any particular frame? No, not m minus 1, it is m bits. It is m bits. So m bits, that is the size of the frame. So now what you do, whatever page number is there in your virtual address, you search this, you need to search this whole table, okay, and find out this page number of particular process. Is it there in this table? You just need to search it out, okay? There is no indexing now. Actually, there is no indexing. Though these are the frames from 0 to 2 raised to m minus 1, but you cannot have any index, right? You just need to check out the whole table and try to see, is there any page number this from this process loaded in this any of these frames? If yes, what is the frame number? Let's say I. So get that I frame number, add this offset, and you get the physical address. So this is inverted page table. This is called inverted page table. So now the problem is solved. Whatever is the size of your page table of any process doesn't matter, because ultimately for all processes, among all processes, there is only one table. There is only one table, that is this page table, and it is inverted page table because it maintains entry for each frame that you have in main memory. And every time you need to convert virtual address into physical address, every time you need to search the whole table and find out, is there any entry for this process, this page number in this page table? If yes, that is the frame number, add the offset and get the physical address. Does this make sense to you? Yes, guys? So in inverted page table, basically hashing is used. Okay, now you need to understand one thing. If this is this way, some hashing technique is used. I hope you know, you remember hashing. This idea this idea was actually used in some previous OSs, PowerPC, UltraSpark, and IS64 architecture. Page number portion of a virtual address is mapped into a hash value. See what happens. This page number portion, that is converted into hash value. Okay, it is not direct page number, it is converted into hash value. Why? Because you have only m bit values here for frame. So you have only 2 raised to m entries only. whereas this page number is made up of n bits. So it needs to convert this n bit page number into m bit value, and that is through hash value. So page number portion of a virtual address is mapped into a hash value. Hash value points to the inverted page table, and that hash value points to the inverted page table. So fixed portion of real memory is required for the tables. And what is the advantage of this inverted page table? You require only fixed amount of main memory to store this. Whatever is the size of the process, regardless of that, page table size is always fixed because it contains only frame entries. Okay. And now the point is, if you convert page number portion of a virtual address using hash value. Now, if you know hashing, it is possible that for different page numbers, you may have same hash value. Have you gone through this hashing idea? Maybe in DSA or something like that, data structure. Have you studied hashing? It is a simple function which is used to convert one value into another value, right? So when you use hash function, it is possible that different pages of different processes may be mapped to the same hash value. So in that case, how it will be stored? It is like this. If it is converted to this entry, but if this entry is filled, it will point to some another entry and there it will be stored. The next entry will be stored in some other value. So this is chaining. This is chaining. Okay. So each entry in the page table includes page number. Now what it includes? What this entry includes? Page number is there. Process identifier is definitely it is required because every process has fixed, maybe having same page numbers from page 0 to page 100, let's say. So page number is going to be there between some range, 0 to 100, 0 to 200, something like that. So every process may have same number of pages. But then how to identify? With the process ID. So page number plus process ID is like your primary key kind of stuff. So page number is there, process ID is there, control bits are there, which include some flags, and then chain pointer. This is important part. The index value of the next entry in the chain. As I discussed, right? This is required because whatever hash value you get through this hash function for particular page number, it is pointing to here. But then you'd see that, okay, this page belongs to some process 1, but here the process ID is 2. So no, this is not the entry. Is there any chain? Let me see. Okay, there is a chain. Now let me see what is the process. Oh, this is the process that I am referring to. So this is my entry, and then I will use this frame number to convert it. This is how it is done. Is this clear? Now there is another hardware concept called translation look aside buffer. This is one kind of cache. Now you have seen that each virtual memory reference can cause 2 physical memory accesses. Okay, if we forget about this, any kind of page table you have, whether this is inverted page table or normal page table, whatever you have, but to convert your virtual address into physical address, you need to go through some page table, right? And that page table is normally in the main memory. This page table is normally in the main memory, whether it is inverted page table or normal page table, but ultimately it is in the main memory, right? So you need to refer that main memory for converting your virtual address into physical address. And once translation is done, once you get the physical address, now you need to refer that physical address in the main memory. That's why it says that each virtual memory reference can cause 2 physical memory accesses. One to fetch the page table entry to translate your virtual address into physical address, and then one to fetch the desired address. not data, actually desired address, because that at that address you may have instruction, you may have some data. So two memory references are there for one particular fetching. So to overcome this problem, and why this is a problem? Because memory reference, main memory reference, again it is taking some time. So to overcome this problem, a high-speed cache is set up for page table entries. Now, rather than putting this page table entries, whether it is inverted page table entries or normal page table entries, rather than putting it into the main memory, let us put it into some cache, and that is called a translation look aside buffer. So rather than putting this page table entries in main memory, let us put it into the cache, and that special cache is called translation look aside buffer, which contains page table entries that have been most recently used. Now, interesting part is, forget about even this inverted page table. When we have normal page table, right? When we have normal page table like this page table can be very large. And we have seen that we need to not even main memory. Sometimes we need to put it in the virtual memory. Okay. So even if we forget about that, still this page table are large enough, maybe in MBs. Okay. And cache, we don't have that many space. So we cannot keep the full page table in the cache. We cannot keep the full page table in the cache. Okay. So it contains page table entries that have been most recently used. Okay. So it is containing those page table entries from different processes, not different processes, of course, the same process. It contains those page table entries that have been most recently used. So only few entries are there. So how this TLB operation is performed? Okay. So whenever there is a virtual address, you need to translate this virtual address into physical address. First, processor will examine the TLB. It is not going to the page table now. First, it will examine the TLB cache. If that page table entry is present, that is called TLB hit. See this, again, this concept is very important by gate perspective. Whatever we are talking today, it is very important by gate perspective. This kind of questions are asked. If page table entry is present in the TLB, then it is called TLB hit. Then the frame number is retrieved and the real address is formed. Simple. Whatever you are looking for, if that is there in the cache, you simply get the frame number and you are done. But what if the page table entry is not found in the TLB? Why? Because TLB does not contain all the entries. It contains only those page table entries which are recently used. So it is possible that the entry that you are looking for in TLB is not present. That is called TLB miss. So now you need to go to the page table again. So the page number is used to index the process page table. If entry is not there in TLB, then go to the page table in main memory and find out the suitable entry. So first, the check is made to see if page is already in main memory. After getting the particular page table entry from the page table or from the TLB, from wherever you get it, once you find PT, either in TLB or in process page table, first the check is made to see if page is already in main memory. You got the page now. Okay, this is the page, but is it in the main memory? So you check the present bit. If not, if page itself is not in the main memory, then page fault is issued. You get the page number, you get the frame number, but if that does not contain it, right? If page is not there, page fault will be issued. And the TLB is updated to include the new page entry. And this TLB also uses principle of locality. It will stores only those PTs which are recently used. So basically it is using principle of locality. So let us see this idea. Translation look aside buffer, how it is performed. See, this is your virtual address. This is the virtual address. This is the page number. First, this page number will be searched in this TLB, which is a cache. If particular entry for this page number, okay, this page number entry is there in this TLB, that is called TLB hit, then simply get the frame number, add the offset, and you get your real address, physical address. It's done. But what if this TLB hit is not there? If that PT is not here, this page number will be try to be searched in page table. And now go to the page table, try to search this page. Once you get that page number, then get the frame number out of it, add the offset, you get the real address, and then refer that real address. But what if this is also not there? Because page table, now just think about this, because page table you are loading in the main memory, it is not the full page table, because your full page table is again in the virtual memory, as it is very big. As it is very big page table, you have not loaded the full page table, right? So you can check whether, what we are talking about is you get that page number in the page table, but then there is a p bit not set. It means this page of this process is currently not in the main memory. So there is no frame number. P bit is not set. It means now first you need to get this page loaded into the main memory. And for that, there is a page fault. There is a page fault because not the whole process is loaded in the main memory. So that page is not loaded. So first you need to load that page. So load that page first, mark that entry here. Okay, now it is loaded in this particular frame. Get that frame offset, get the address. But with that, you also need to update this because this is the recently used page. So that entry will be updated here. So this is how translation look aside buffer works. Now there is one more indirection, one more level. Before checking page table, you check the cache. And this is the whole process that we just discussed. You can go through this diagram. It is the same thing. When page in main memory, so page, if it is not in main memory, this one, if page is not in main memory, then what happens? Page fault handling routine. Page fault will occur. OS instructs CPU to read the page from disk. CPU activates IO hardware. Page transferred from disk to main memory. Then you check memory is full. Yes, then you need to perform some page replacement. Some of the page will be swapped out and then memory will be freed and new page will be loaded. But if there is enough space, then in that space, in that particular frame, this page will be loaded and page table will be updated. Page table will be updated and CPU checks the TLB. TLB will also be updated and again this process will be performed. So this is how TLB cache can be used for getting the or translating the virtual address into real address through different stages. So today we have discussed this paging with virtual memory. In that we discuss a single level, then we discuss two level, then we discuss inverted page table, then we discuss translation look aside buffer. Of course, there is few more discussion required on this TLB, which we will do in the next lecture, how this will work, right? And then we will discuss few more concepts on that, segmentation and everything. Fine, so we'll continue in the next lecture from here.